You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start by recapping the two NBA play-in games that we had yesterday. I'll start with Hornets Pacers. It was kind of funny. As we got closer to tip-off of that game, you saw the news that Malcolm Brogdon was gonna come back. He had missed the final 10 games of the regular season because of a hamstring injury. I didn't think he was gonna play. But then I saw him on the court, and it's like, okay, that's good. Won't mean much. Pacers are still without Jeremy Lamb, Miles Turner, and TJ Warren, and Karis LeVert. There's no way that the Hornets are going to lose this game. Oh my God, was I wrong? Let's be honest, this game was over in the first quarter. The Pacers had a 20-point lead in the second quarter. They couldn't miss. Doug McDermott looked like Creighton Doug McDermott. O'Shea Brissett went off. 10 for 14 from the field. Domantas Sabonis grabbed 21 boards. He nearly had a triple-double. 14 points, 21 rebounds, and 9 assists. Off the bench, Goga Bitadze had a double-double. 14 points and 10 rebounds. This was a rout. Watching the first quarter of that game, you could see that the Pacers couldn't miss, and you were waiting for the Hornets to go on a run. You know, they've got really talented players. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, etc., etc. It never happened. What did I say the Hornets needed to do if they wanted to win this game? They needed to play through their guards. LaMelo, in his first game under the bright lights in the NBA, was atrocious. Just 4 for 14 from the field. Terry Rozier, 0 for 9 from beyond the arc. Devontae Graham, 1 for 8 from the field. 1 for 7 from beyond the arc? What were the Hornets doing? They never led. Never, not even once. Greg Anthony said something during the broadcast. He said that the Hornets don't realize that their playoff lives are on the line here. He was 100% right. To go down by as much as 39 points in a game that, let's be honest, is a playoff game. I don't care what anyone says, okay? It is. Go back to my first 4 example for March Madness. You're telling me the first 4 isn't a part of March Madness? It's the same principle. This was a playoff game. To be down by 39 points at one point in time, to lose by 27 is absolutely inexcusable. This wasn't win or bust or anything like that. Should the Hornets have won? The answer is yes, but you know what? If you lose a competitive game, it's close all throughout, but the Pacers are able to come out on top. Okay, fine. You know, if you're a Hornets fan, you have nothing to be upset about there. If I was a Hornets fan, a lot of things in my house would have been broken. To see your team come out ill-prepared, playing like garbage, wilting under the bright lights, whatever term you want to use is fair for that performance yesterday. Yeah, I would have been really ticked off if I was a Hornets fan. I'm sure every Hornets fan is ticked off. I mean, the one thing I'll say is you've got a lot to be excited about if you're a Hornets fan. The ship is pointed in the right direction. The last time you were in the playoffs was the 15-16 season. Now, you were in the play-in game. You've got a solid core of guys. Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, Devontae Graham, PJ Washington, Miles Bridges, and Malik Monk. Those are 7 guys that you can build around. Maybe you won't win a title, but if all those guys develop properly, you'll be in the playoffs every year. If I was a Hornets fan, I would take that. Try not to lose sight over what was a successful season. In 18-19, the Nets got blown out by the Sixers in the 5th game of the Eastern Conference quarterfinals. That didn't negate the fact that the Nets were in the playoffs. D'Angelo Russell was emerging as one of the best young guards in the NBA. They had Spencer Dinwiddie, they had Jarrett Allen, they had Karis LeVert. It was a fun team. It was a good time to be a Nets fan. It's a good time to be a Hornets fan right now. Don't lose sight of that. I know it's tough now. I get it. You have every right to be upset. But you'll be back. I promise you. Moving on now to Wizards Celtics. And my God. Are we sure we weren't watching Larry Bird yesterday? Or Paul Pierce? Or John Havlicek? Because that's how great Jason Tatum was yesterday. To drop 50 points in a must-win game is nothing short of incredible. The guy was perfect from the free throw line, 17 out of 17, 14 for 32 from the field, 5 for 12 from beyond the arc. Any other day, we'd be talking about Kemba Walker almost dropping 30, outplaying Russell Westbrook by a mile. But when Jason Tatum drops 50, that's the lead story. The record for most points scored by a Celtic in a playoff game belongs to John Havlicek. He scored 54 in Game 1 of the 1973 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Hawks. I understand that technically this wasn't a playoff game. I feel like we're going to have this argument a lot. How do you categorize the play-in games? What do? Do you make a new category? I don't mind that. But until it's done, it's a playoff game. It's not a regular season game. And if it's not a regular season game, it's a playoff game. It's just that simple. This isn't hard to understand. So Jason Tatum really almost eclipsed Hondo's playoff record. He almost beat out Isaiah Thomas. The really impressive part of that performance, though, was the fact that most of Tatum's points came in the second half. He had 18 in the first half. That's good. That's very good. Don't get me wrong. But then he had 32 in the second half. You gotta realize something. The Celtics were down by 2 at halftime. That was a back and forth game for the first half. Then the second half hits and Jason Tatum just goes into overdrive. The guy was unconscious. Watching that game yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, as a Nets fan, do I really want to face this guy? I mean, look, I'm not scared of the Celtics as a whole. You had to know that Tatum would go off. Did you have to know he was going to get 50? Absolutely not. But certainly 30 to 35 wasn't out of the question against this dismal Wizards defense. The Nets are better defensively. I'm not saying they're a great defensive team overall, because they're not, but they are better than the Wizards. Not a high bar to clear, but still, I don't think we're going to see Tatum go off for 50 against the Nets. I mean, I'd say you're going to have Kevin Durant on him, but the Nets just switch everything constantly, so Tatum may not have Durant on him. Look, it's not going to be easy. The Celtics have a lot of talent. Tatum, Walker, Marcus Smart, and Evan Fournier. Despite whatever Brad Stevens will tell you. Which, by the way, those comments yesterday, it's hard to see the Nets losing. What the hell was that? How do you say that as the coach of the opposing team? Way to have faith in your guys. I mean, he's right. I don't see the Nets losing, but you can't say that. If I was the coach of the Celtics, I would never say that. Give a Sherman-esque answer. Well, you know, they're very talented, but we have talented guys too. You just saw what Jason did. He's capable of taking over games by himself. Same thing with Kemba. Same thing with the rest of our roster. It's going to be a really competitive series. I'm looking forward to the challenge. That's it! That's all you have to say! If you're a player for the Celtics right now, how do you think you can beat the Nets when your coach doesn't think you can beat the Nets? The Nets are going to win this series. Brad Stevens is right. Maybe if he does a bracket for fun at home, like no one sees it, he just does it for himself, he can pick the Nets. That's okay. If no one knows about it, fine. But to say that out loud, that's ridiculous. As for the Wizards, what did I tell you? You can't win with Russell Westbrook. I understand that the Wizards' playoff hopes are still alive. They're going to go up against the Pacers tomorrow. The winner gets the 8th seed. I get that. But how can you have confidence in Russell Westbrook after that performance, after everything he's done in the playoffs. Maybe you'll beat the Pacers, okay, fine. But that performance yesterday from Westbrook was inexcusable. He shot just 6 for 18 from the field, 0 for 4 from beyond the arc, got into foul trouble. The Wizards shot the ball dreadfully in this game. They were just 3 for 21 from beyond the arc. Bradley Beal hit a 3, Ish Smith hit a 3, and Garrison Matthews hit a 3. That's it. Westbrook 0 for 4. Davis Bertans 0 for 7. I understand that Westbrook isn't a great three-point shooter, but you've got to hit one in a game like that. This guy is Ted Williams. Accumulates all the records in the world. Puts up great numbers. But you're never going to win with him. Is there any world where you can see the Wizards beating the Sixers? The answer is no. I mean, is there any world where you can see the Celtics beating the Nets? No, but when you have a guy like Westbrook, a future Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards in NBA history, how is it okay to say that a team that he's on has no chance of winning their playoff series? I mean, this loss isn't all on Westbrook. I get that. Bertans was dreadful. Rui Hachimura was dreadful. Bradley Beal wasn't that good. But when you're the future Hall of Famer, and you just broke Oscar Robertson's record for most triple-doubles in a career, and averaged a triple-double in a season for the 4th time, something that had only been done once before, most of the blame is going to go on you. I'm telling you. On Russell Westbrook's basketball reference page, we've got to add a new nickname. The Ted Williams of basketball. But now it's time to preview the Western Conference play-in games. I'll start with Spurs Grizzlies. And like I said yesterday, it's tough to picture a way that the Spurs can win this game. I think that the Grizzlies are leaps and bounds better than the Spurs. The Spurs really shouldn't be here. I'm not saying I'm totally against the play-in tournament. It accomplished what the NBA wanted it to, but there's got to be a limit. How do you have a team like the Spurs that finished 33 and 39 going up against the Grizzlies when they finished 38 and 34? Why do the Spurs have a chance to be the 8th seed? They don't deserve it. Let me tell you, I'm going to be rooting for the Grizzlies in this game. Look, if you're the Spurs, you've got to penetrate, you've got to slash, run a lot of pick and rolls. You have good mid-range shooters in DeMar DeRozan and DeJounte Murray. I know that analytics don't like mid-range shots. I don't care. If you have guys like DeRozan and Murray, take mid-range shots. Encourage them to take mid-range shots. Try to penetrate. Try to get to the free throw line a lot. DeJounte Murray really hasn't done that this year. I don't know why. It seems like a logical extension of his game. DeRozan does. He's very good at that. But you've got to slash and penetrate if you want to win this game. if you're the Spurs. As for the Grizzlies, it's pretty obvious, but I'll say it anyway. Don't reinvent the wheel. You're better than the Spurs. You don't need to go nuts. Play your game. Let Morant do Morant things. Let Dylan Brooks do Dylan Brooks things. Let Jonas Valanciunas dominate on the interior. You've got Jaren Jackson Jr. back. That's going to be huge. I really wouldn't change much if I was Taylor Jenkins. The Grizzlies are better. They're going to show it. I think they're going to win by double digits. I'm going to be rooting hard for Memphis, and I think I'm going to be rewarded for that. Moving on now to Lakers-Warriors. How about this? Huh? I'm like 99% sure that I picked the Lakers and Warriors to be 1-2 in the West. They're 7-8, and they're fighting for their playoff lives. Gotta love it. Look, it's too obvious for me to say that the Lakers need to play through LeBron, they need to play through AD, they've got to run those pick and rolls. No, that's too obvious, I'm not going to say that. Instead, I'm going to say that they need to slow down Steph Curry, and they can do it. The Lakers were one of the best defensive teams in the NBA this year. That's how they treaded water while LeBron and AD were out. I mean, Dennis Schroeder is a really good defender. You don't think of him as being a great defender, but you know what? He really stepped up. Give him credit. Him, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and KCP. It is very possible that the Lakers could slow down Steph Curry. Double him on the catch. Get a hand in his face. Force him to pass the ball. Which plays into how the Warriors are going to win this game. It's not going to be enough for just Steph to go off. I'm looking at one guy in particular to step up. Andrew Wiggins. I think the Lakers are going to dare him to shoot. You'd rather have him shoot than Curry. You'd rather have anyone shoot than Curry. I mean, look, if you're Wiggins, you've got to realize who you're playing with. Obviously, you've got Curry. We know that. But besides him, you've got Draymond Green, Kent Bazemore, and Kevon Looney. You've got to step up. There are going to be moments in this game where Curry is doubled and you're left wide open. Maybe there will be a light contest, but you've got to shoot it. You've got to score. You've got to make that work. You want to tell me that they can double Wiggins too? That's tough. It's tough to double two guys in a basketball game. Just watch the Nets. Usually you'll see Durant draw the double, and then he kicks it out to a guy like Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, or Jeff Green. Andrew Wiggins needs to step up if the Warriors are going to win this game. It's just that simple. Look, I think the Lakers are more talented. Are they banged up right now? There's no question. Anthony Davis is even listed as questionable. I think he's going to play, but there's a chance that he doesn't. If he doesn't, the Warriors are going to win. But if he does, the Warriors just can't match that firepower. The Lakers will clinch the 7th seed. I'm picking the Lakers tonight. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And I'll start by recapping the 3 Stanley Cup playoff games that we saw yesterday. You know I need to start with Islanders Penguins. Semyon Varlamov got the start, which was very surprising. I did think it was going to be Sorokin. I'm glad it wasn't. But that did surprise me. Having said that, though, in the first period, I was kind of sorry to see Varley in net. The Islanders were down 2-0 after 1. One of those goals was Varley's fault. Ryan Pulock didn't help matters. Okay, just to be fair, Pulock tried to pass it over to Adam Pelech. He fanned on the pass, and Brian Rust sniped it home. It was a shot that Varlamov should have saved. Okay? 99 times out of 100, Varley stops that shot. I don't know what it was. Maybe he blinked. Maybe he was in La La Land. Maybe he just wasn't expecting the turnover, but he whiffed on that save. Bad job by Varley, but an equally bad job by Ryan Pulock. You've got to be able to make that pass. That's a simple pass. The second goal I can't blame on Varley. That was Ryan Pulock. He just lost Jeff Carter. That's Pulock's man. You've got to stay with him. Pulock didn't even know where Carter was until he got the puck. So he gets a step on Pulock and is able to shoot it 5-hole. The Islanders got bad games from their key guys. Matthew Barzal, Jordan Eberle, Ryan Pulock, and Oliver Wahlstrom. That can't happen. You've got Josh Bailey deking out Jeff Carter, a really nice backhand move. He ends up sniping it over Jarry's left shoulder. That's the 5th goal that the Islanders have scored in this series. All 5 of them were on Jarry's glove side. There's something there, I promise you. And I want to say this. Brandon Tanev went barreling into Semyon Varlamov on a breakaway. That caused a scrum. Matt Martin is in the middle of it because, of course, he is. And Zach Aston Reese ended up getting tied up with Matty Martz. Matt Martin could have killed Zach Aston Reese if he wanted to. Okay, that's not a fight that Aston Reese wants. Discretion is the better part of valor in that case if you're Aston Reese. But instead of pummeling Aston Reese into oblivion, Matt Martin just stayed tied up with Aston Reese. Didn't throw any punches. In essence, what Martin did was stop Aston Reese from hurting himself. That is an incredibly classy move. That's the right way to play hockey. It's okay if you're a grinder. It's okay if you're a goon. It's okay if you're a tough guy. But there's a classy way to be a tough guy, and there's an unclassy way to be a tough guy. Matt Martin is a very classy tough guy. Now, the Islanders had a golden opportunity with 86 seconds left. They were playing 6-on-4. Brian Rust just had a brain cramp. He closed his hand on the puck. He threw it out of the zone. You can't do that. I'm watching it, and it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? But this inept, Jim Hiller-led power play only got one shot. It was from Oliver Wahlstrom. It was on the outside. I don't want to say it had no chance of going in, but it wasn't the ideal shot. To only get one shot on a 6-on-4 power play, to tie a game that if you had won, would have resulted in you taking a stranglehold of the series, is inexcusable. Jim Hiller is nothing short of inept. The Islanders did not play well yesterday. I give Semyon Varlamov a ton of credit. I don't want to hear people say he shouldn't have given up that first goal. Yes, you're right that he shouldn't have. But he never should have been in that position because Ryan Pulock should have been able to make a pass to Adam Pelech. The Penguins had 45 shots on net yesterday. Varley made 43 saves. Sorokin didn't do that. Varlamov is better than Sorokin. It's not even close. Varley needs to start Game 3. Moving on now to Lightning Panthers. And what did I tell you about Chris Driedger? I thought he played really well. I'm high on Driedger. I thought it was the right decision for Joel Quenneville to start him. Yes, he gave up 2 first-period goals, but the first one was just a dreadful job by the Panthers' defense. You had 4 guys trying to skate up ice. When you see that Anthony Cirelli is ready to get the puck. So that created a 2-on-1 in the slot. Great passing play by Stamkos and Killorn. Anton Stralman did the best he could, but he got no support from his teammates there. I can't blame Driedger for that. That was a bad job by the Panthers skaters, except Anton Stralman. The second goal was kind of fluky. Braden Point got in behind Mackenzie Weegar and ended up hitting it off the post. It rebounded to Andre Palat, and Palat sniped it home. That was kind of fluky. I can't blame Driedger for that. After that, he shut the door. If you want to win in the playoffs, you can't score just 1 goal. That loss isn't on Driedger. Now, I give Vasilevsky credit. He made some really good saves. But ultimately, this is a game that the Panthers should have won. They didn't. They're in a big hole now. There's no way that they're going to win this series. I just don't see it. You lost 2 games at home. Now you've got to go to Tampa. It's a long drive from Sunrise to Tampa. It's like 3.5 to 4 hours. The Lightning are winning this series. It's just that simple. Moving on now to Wild Golden Knights. And Marc-Andre Fleury found the fountain of youth. He faced 35 shots and made 34 saves. Some of those saves that he made were nothing short of incredible. You had the Kevin Fiala save. Fiala actually had multiple opportunities. He just couldn't score a goal to save his life. I mean, it's not his fault. Fleury just stoned him. Nick Bonino had a good chance that Fleury stoned. You've got Fleury sprawled out on his side and somehow stops a slap shot from the pinching defenseman. I don't know how Ryan Suter didn't score on that. There was a stat that they showed on the broadcast. Marc-Andre Fleury, through the first period of yesterday's game, in his last 3 playoff games, had stopped 70 of 72 shots. The Golden Knights didn't help him out at all. They got no goals in that time span. Well, they were able to solve Cam Talbot yesterday. Jonathan Marchessault had a nice snipe over Talbot's glove hand. Then Alex Tuck buried home a great pass from Janmark. That was all Vegas needed. I told you to take the under in this game. I hope you listened to me. All these games are going to be low-scoring games, which I like. You're going to be into every moment. That next shot could be the difference maker. Which goalie's going to blink first? Playoff hockey. You gotta love it. But now it's time to preview a few of tonight's NHL games. I'm not going to talk about Jets-Oilers. I did that on Friday. I'll recap it tomorrow, but no point in previewing it since what I said on Friday still holds. We haven't had a game in that series yet. If the Capitals are going to win this game, I feel like they need to stop relying so much on their fourth line. It's great that their fourth line is contributing, but I want to see more of Backstrom. I want to see more of Mantha. I want to see more of Connor Sheary, Michael Raffel, Daniel Sprong. Even guys like Dmitry Orlov and John Carlson. I'm not saying totally disregard the fourth line. That's not what I'm saying, but I just don't know when that well is going to dry out. It's going to dry out at some point. You've got to be ready for it. And God only knows who's going to start this game for the Caps. Is it Craig Anderson? Is it Vitek Vanacek? Is it Ilya Samsonov? I have no idea. But regardless of who's in net for the Caps, the Bruins just need to put pucks on net. They did a great job of doing that on Monday. They had 48 shots on net. Against a guy like Craig Anderson, that's going to work. And if Ilya Samsonov plays, it's going to work against him because he's not at 100%. Same thing for Vanacek. Keep up the pressure. Keep up the strong forecheck. Just put pucks on net. I don't care if they're from the outside, if they're from the point, if they're quote-unquote bad shots. No. Put pucks on net. You never know what'll happen, especially against this Capitals team with a tenuous goalie situation. That's how the Bruins are going to win this game. The series is headed to Boston. I'm not crazy about the Caps goalie situation. I just don't know what they're going to do. I've got to go with the Bruins. Moving on now to Predators Hurricanes. And I guess it's too obvious to just say be better. Right? If you're the Preds. I mean, they were garbage on Monday. Let's be honest. I'll focus on one element in particular. Don't spend too much time in your own zone. The Predators really didn't get a lot of chances on Monday. They only had 24 shots on net. You're going up against Alex Nedeljkovic. I mean, come on. I understand that Nedeljkovic had a good year, but in a perfect world, do you want him starting in the playoffs? I don't think so. You've just got to generate pressure. The Predators couldn't do that. They couldn't get the puck out of their own zone. Their defense was dreadful. UC Saros faced 37 shots. Take some of the pressure off him. Be strong on your forecheck. Play the dump and chase game. Help your goalie out. It's just that simple. As for the Hurricanes, you don't need to change much. The one thing I would say is start Peter Mrazek. He is better than Nedeljkovic. But Nedeljkovic did get the win the other day. He only allowed 2 goals. He played well. You really don't need to change much. I guess the biggest thing I would say would be to Rod Brind'Amour, watch out for the changes that you're going to see from the Preds. John Hines is going to switch things up. He has to. You've got to be able to identify those changes, communicate them to your team, and tell them how they can counter it. Seeing as how this game unfolded on Monday, it's very hard for me to pick the Predators. It wouldn't stun me if they won. They're going to be motivated, there's no question. But I've got to go with the Hurricanes. The last game to talk about is Blues Avalanche. If the Blues are going to win this game, it's very similar to what the Predators need to do. Help out your goalie, generate pressure. Get pucks deep in the Avalanche zone. Philip Grubauer only faced 23 shots. That's not going to work. Jordan Binnington can only do so much. The guy faced 49 shots. Yeah, he's going to let a few goals go by him. Anyone would if they faced that many shots. You've got to help your goalie out. You've got to ease his burden. Generate more chances for yourself. As for the Avalanche, as obvious as this is, just keep doing what you're doing. What you did on Monday worked perfectly. You don't need to change anything. Keep doing what you're doing. You're the better team. You played like it on Monday. I expect you to do that here. Give me the Lanch. Alright, now I'll give you some MLB Valk talk. And there's a little bit of controversy around the Chicago White Sox. On Monday, the White Sox blew out the Twins 16-4. Here's how the White Sox scored their 16th run. The Twins put in Willians Astudillo, their backup catcher, to pitch the 9th inning. He got Nick Madrigal and Jake Lamb out. Then, up to bat came Yerman Mercedes. Astudillo fell behind 3-0. And on a pitch that just went 47 miles per hour, Mercedes swung at it. He hit a home run. It made the score 16-4. How do you swing when you're up 3-0? You're up 15-4 in the game. You've got a position player pitching to you. Take a pitch. Other people said, well, wait a minute, that's part of the game. How can you fault someone for hitting a home run? Maybe don't fall behind 3-0 and don't fall behind in the game 15-4 if you don't want that to happen. Before yesterday's game, Tony La Russa said that he was upset with Mercedes for hitting that home run. He said that there's going to be a consequence. He's a rookie. He was clueless. Blah, blah, blah. Then, with the White Sox up 4-2, Tyler Duffy threw at Mercedes. And La Russa was okay with it. He said the phrase, and I quote, "I didn't have a problem with what the Twins did." I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. Should Yermin Mercedes have swung when he's up 3-0? Generally speaking, the answer is no. I don't like when players do that. Take a pitch. Sometimes it's okay, it depends on the circumstance, but usually I'd rather they take a pitch. In that case, though, I didn't mind it. You're just trying to get home. You're up 15-4. You're gonna win. It's just that simple. Let me try to speed this up a little bit. The home run aspect, how can you blame Mercedes for that? When Mercedes swung at that, there was no guarantee that he was going to hit a home run. He could have flew out. He could have swung and missed. He could have hit a foul pop-up to the catcher. How can you blame Mercedes for hitting a home run? That's ridiculous. Look, I am an old soul. I love the traditional aspect of baseball. But I had no problem with what Mercedes did. If La Russa had said, I don't want my guys swinging up 3-0 when we're that far ahead in the game, that's one thing. I mean, that plays into the sportsmanship aspect of things. That's what's getting lost here. Hitting a home run to make it 16-4, yeah, that displays a lack of sportsmanship. Again, it's hard to blame Mercedes for hitting a home run, but that does display a lack of sportsmanship. Does that really matter? Kinda. We're teaching young kids how to play the game here. You want them to rub salt in the wound like that? I get that end of it. I'm not saying I agree with what La Russa said. If you're going to say something to Mercedes, you've got to say, look, I'm not mad at you. You hit a home run. Good for you. But in a situation like that, I'd prefer that you not swing on 3-0. We're up big. You don't need to do that. There's a classier way to handle it. And just stress the fact that you're not mad at him. But yesterday, to defend the Twins for throwing at your player, if you're the manager of a team, It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Your guys are never wrong. I guarantee you, if Dusty Baker wasn't managing the Astros, he'd be criticizing them right now. But he's not doing that. You know why? Because he's their manager. How can you condone a pitch going behind your player? That's inexcusable. I've never heard of a manager doing that. It wasn't obvious to you. It was obvious to everyone else. If it wasn't obvious to you, get some new glasses. I mean, what you're seeing is a split within the White Sox. You've got La Russa on one side, and you've got the players on another side. You've got Tim Anderson and Lance Lynn supporting Mercedes. You can see that La Russa is losing the locker room very quickly. The knock on this hire was that he wouldn't be able to keep up with baseball in 2021. So far, that has proven to be a reasonable concern. Now, the White Sox are a great team right now. They're 25-16. They're leading the AL Central. I get that. So it's clear that something La Russa's doing is working. But you can't have a split between the manager and the players this openly. Not everyone's going to like their manager. That's okay, but you've still got to respect him. You get the sense that the White Sox don't. You've got guys like Anderson and Lynn publicly saying the opposite of what La Russa's saying. I'm not saying that they're wrong, but you can't have that split. Here's a guy in Mercedes who's 28 years old, is a rookie, has had to fight tooth and nail for every opportunity he's ever gotten. Now that he has the opportunity, he's leading the majors in batting average, and his manager just told him that hitting a home run is bad. That's tough. Is there a sportsmanship element to that? Yes. But you've got to stress that. La Russa didn't. And his comments yesterday were ridiculous. You cannot condone a player throwing at your player. That doesn't work. Look, I don't remember what I said about Fernando Tatis Jr. when he hit the grand slam up 3-0 to make the score 14-3 Padres on August 17th. I don't think I had a problem with it. If I remember correctly, I said that I had more of an issue with him swinging 3-0 than anything else, but if he hit a home run, okay. The circumstances are a little different here. There's a difference between being up 15-4 and being up 10-3. Especially when you have a real pitcher on the mound in Juan Nicasio and a fake pitcher on the mound in Willians Astudillo. I don't blame Mercedes for swinging. I really don't. He just wants to end the game quickly. Is there a sportsmanship aspect? The answer is yes. But it's not like Mercedes was being intentionally unsportsmanlike. It's tough. It's a fine line, but La Russa handled it wrong. It's just that simple. Alright, now I'll give you some NFL Valk talk. And I want to talk about maybe not the most earth-shattering trade, but it's still noteworthy. And that is the Jaguars trading Josiah Scott to the Eagles for Jamison Houston and the Eagles' 6th rounder in 2023. I understand that Scott and Houston aren't household names, so I'll tell you a little bit about them. Scott didn't play a lot last year for the Jaguars. He only got into 6 games, only played 80 snaps. He was a 4th-round pick last year, though. So to see the Jaguars giving up on their 4th rounder from last year this quickly is a little surprising. I understand that it's a new regime. They don't have any ties to Scott, and it's not like Scott set the world on fire or anything. According to Pro Football Focus, last year he had a 46.9 overall grade. But it is surprising to see the Jaguars take that hit. Meanwhile, when you look at Jamison Houston, he was an undrafted free agent. Only got into 3 games last year for the Eagles. Played well on special teams, had a 64.4 overall special teams grade according to Pro Football Focus. He played 22 snaps against Washington, the last game of the season. Had a 74.2 overall grade. So look, last year Houston was the better player. If you think Scott is going to flame out of the league, then I don't mind you getting a better player. At this very moment, Jamison Houston is better than Josiah Scott. You also got a 6th-round pick. It stinks that you traded a 4th-rounder for a 6th-rounder and an undrafted free agent, but I don't mind it since Urban Meyer has no connection to Scott whatsoever. I'll give the Jaguars a 51-49 edge in this trade. If the Eagles liked Scott coming out of MSU, then yeah, it makes perfect sense to do this trade. I do want to talk about the death of Rennie Stennett, who died yesterday at the age of 70 from cancer. When you think of the great second baseman of the 1970s, you probably think of guys like Rod Carew, Joe Morgan, Bobby Grich, and Dave Cash. But Rennie Stennett was up there. Here's a guy who was a very important part of some really good Pirates teams in the 1970s. We forget how good these teams were. They were really, really talented. Stennett's rookie year was in 1971. That year, the Pirates beat the Orioles in 7 games to win the World Series. Was Stennett a big part of that team? No, he wasn't. But he did make history that year. On September 1st, the Pirates' starting lineup was comprised of all black and Latino players. The first time that had ever happened in baseball history. Now, the Pirates had a little bit of an issue. And you may have put 2 and 2 together. I brought up Dave Cash earlier. Dave Cash used to play for the Pirates. So instead of Stennett playing his natural second base, Stennett, in his first 3 years, spent a lot of time in the outfield and shortstop. Eventually, though, the Pirates decided that they wanted to give Stennett the starting job at the Keystone, so they traded Cash to the Phillies for Ken Brett. That trade did work. Stennett's first year as the unquestioned starter at second base for the Pirates, he had .291 with 7 homers and 56 RBIs. He finished 21st in NL MVP voting. From 1972 to 1975, the Pirates made the NLCS 3 out of those 4 years. They didn't make the World Series, though. In 72, they lost to the Reds. In 74, they lost to the Dodgers. And in 75, they lost to the Reds again. But in 75, Stennett became the only player in modern baseball history to have 7 hits in 7 at-bats in a 9-inning game. The only other player to go 7 for 7 was Wilbert Robinson in 1892. The Pirates faced another issue. They had just traded Dave Cash to make room for Stennett. But they had this other young second baseman that was ready to come up. You may have heard of him. His name was Willie Randolph. The Pirates decided that they were kind of beholden to Stennett. So in a weird twist of fate, Ken Brett, the guy who they got for Dave Cash, was traded along with Randolph and Doc Ellis, the man who pitched a no-hitter on LSD, to the Yankees for Doc Medich. That is how the Yankees got Willie Randolph. Needless to say, that trade worked out pretty darn well for the Yankees. Did it work out for the Pirates also? Look, in 77, Stennett was on his way to a career year. He was hitting .336, he had 28 steals, but he got hurt in late August, broke his leg, sliding into second base. Thank you, Wikipedia. Stennett still finished 19th in NL MVP voting, but that injury really was the beginning of the end for Stennett. He was the starting second baseman on the 79 We Are Family Pirates that won the World Series in 7 games. They beat the Orioles, but interestingly enough, Stennett only started 1 game in that series. The starting second baseman for most games was Phil Garner. After that, the Giants signed Stennett to a big deal in free agency. 5 years, $3 million. At the time, that was big money. Now, forget about it. That's nothing. Stennett was really one of the first whiffs in the history of baseball free agency. He only made it 2 seasons with the Giants. Only played 158 games for him in 2 seasons. But look, Stennett was one of the better second basemen of the 1970s. It's fair to wonder how good he could have been if he didn't get hurt in 77. He would have been an interesting guy for Bill Dean to write about. He had an incredibly interesting career. I like talking about him, but I don't like that I had to do it in a eulogy. May he rest in peace. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying, shout out to you, Spencer Turnbull.